exactly at 4 p.m., right? And it's 10 to, well, give or take a minute or two. Now on Wednesday, the 20th of January of this year, I came across 2 pieces of newsprint article, right? And this one was up in a so tiny it is, was up in a corner, kind of like if you're just glancing through the newspaper you will miss it, but you know I don't really miss much. So this is the first one that caught my attention, and then continuing on, this is the second one that caught my attention. Right. The first one is this, because I'll read this one first because it is page 17, and this one of the same newspaper is page 45. So I'm doing it in order, right? The homosexual agenda. You all ready for me, right?
Yes.
If those are children outside making that unnecessary noise, parents, please take control of your children. The homosexual agenda. New year, fresh opportunity. It's the start of a new year. A time of learning a new date and forgetting a new resolution. I don't know what that part means. A year of unfinished business and fresh opportunity. One item of unfinished business is how our laws and many in our society still treat some of our own citizens. 2015 provides a fresh opportunity to correct old mistakes and create new equality and justice. To put into law the thoughtful recommendations of the Equal Opportunity Commission to protect young people and old people, heterosexual people, gay, lesbian, and bisexual people, people living with HIV and their loved ones, against discrimination based on who they are. Anybody pick up what these people are doing yet? Anybody pick it up? No, they're not bashing heterosexuals. Hear what they're doing. Listen to the line again, and pick up carefully what they're doing. To put into law the thoughtful recommendations of the Equal Opportunity Commission to protect young people. Young people need protecting against what? Old people need protecting against what? Heterosexual people needs protecting against what or who? Everybody know what is a heterosexual, right? A normal man-woman relationship, right? Heterosexual people and gay, lesbian, and bisexual people. People living with HIV and their loved ones against discrimination based on who they are. So they don't want to just come out and say that there's discrimination against LGBTI, because they have an I tape now, which means intersex. Anybody find out what is intersex yet? I didn't find out what it means yet. But it's no longer LGBT, it's LGBTI. So, they don't just want to come out and say that there's discrimination against the LGBTI community. They want it to sound really, really good. And they want us to really accept that it is discrimination across the board. So they put what? Young people, old people, heterosexual people, People with HIV, the only thing they miss out is dog, cat, pig, goat, and going on and on. So they wanted to sound really nice, and they want people to be what? Sympathetic towards their cause. The article goes on to say, in this new year, hold on, I missed a part. Right. And their loved ones against discrimination based on who they are, right? To strengthen initiatives, listen carefully, to strengthen initiatives to protect young people from all forms of bullying, to prevent a new 2012 law from sending young people who act on their curiosity about someone of the same sex to jail for life. Why aren't you all shocked and appalled yet? So, the agenda for 2015 is to protect young people from having to go to jail for life for expressing their curiosity towards people of the same sex. So Brother David and Brother Gerald, shake hands, brotherly hug, grace and peace, pleasant Sabbath. They may think that that is exploring all the curiosity. I don't know. What does that really mean? Remember the book that Brother Dexter read for us, was it last Sabbath or Sabbath before? Remember, it's the young, it's last Sabbath, right? It's young people that they're targeting. In this new year, we can also think about what steps each of us personally can take in our families, communities, and where we work and worship to stand up for equality and protect all members of society. So what we are getting here is that the LGBTI community is not protected against discrimination. The LGBTI community they don't have equality. So the gist of 2015 is to fight for equality for the LGBTI community.
What is the no equality?
Pardon me?
What is the no equality?
What is the no equality, you ask? They didn't specify. And I, dear brother, would not like to speculate. Right. Maybe it's simple. Taking race and sexuality, listen carefully, taking race and sexuality related insults out of our vocabulary. So don't call them Sodomite. That is an insult. Don't call them Sodomites. That is an insult. So we have to take these words out of our vocabulary. By the way, pretty soon, heterosexual will be a bad word. Heterosexual will be a bad word. Right? Good. Right. Maybe it's simple. Taking race and sexuality related insults out of our vocabulary, or approaching different communities with understanding and acceptance. So we have to understand the nastiness and accept it. And don't call them Sodomite. That is an insult. Maybe it's important stepping up to support our friends and family who are LGBT, or speaking up for anyone we know has a hard time being a respected part of our nation. This new year, we can all play a small part in building a nation where we are all equal citizens. Nobody in here, Tell them here. Tell them the 2 words we have, right?
Aeon Apocalypse.
Amen.
We just have 2 words for them. Aeon Apocalypto. So, they have their phone number and they have an account number. So, to find out about our legal and clinical services called blah 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 blah, and to support our work, make a deposit at any unit trust to KAISO, not KAISO the Calypso, but CAISO, what has to do with the LGBTI community. And they gave their account number. So, brethren, we are in 2015. This is something that we have been talking about extensively. We have gone into this extensively. We have had, well, I don't even want to use the word bashed, but we have been disagreed with, for want of expression, by the Barbados community. We dealt with this lawyer, what's his face, who wants to change our laws together with Belize and Jamaica and all the countries that has the laws that states, and I love that law. I'm not coming out of power just now. I love that law. Hear what the law states. No sodomite and no, what does call them ladies on the night again? Prostitutes is to come into this country, and anybody who bring them in and who benefiting from that kind of thing liable to get locked up for how much and how much years. Those laws is to protect our country, is to protect the Caribbean on a whole from being taken over by this pestilence, by this blasphemy, by this nastiness. And we as a people have to stand up against them who want to change our laws. And this government that we have, that like to interfere with our constitution, by God's grace, election coming up. Because they're not just putting laws where the next government could come and change it, you know. They're entrenching it in the constitution, and you can't touch that. So this government that interfere with our constitution to push their own agenda,
Backs of every one of them.
it coming. Yes, Sister Julia.
Yes, I was just saying to Sister Nicole that as brethren, right, we ought not to lose sight of the real perception or the real trust of what these people will, what is their objective that they would like to fulfill.
Yes.
They don't want really and truly to coexist with a heterosexual society. They really want to rule over it. Remember the paper that was written when they said we will sodomize the little boys, we will go in your dormitories,
And
we will go in
take
all
your
the...
sons.
Right.
You will take your husbands.
What they
You
did.
will destroy your family.
Right, so that's the
You
real agenda.
heterosexual swine.
That is it. So they showed a little clip on YouTube, and what the clip was showing, the clip showed a young girl, right? The girl was about 12, and they showed that this girl, she liked a little boy in school like herself, and there was a witch hunt behind her. And what do you think happened eventually? Because the mother had a woman friend, and the mother was telling the little girl, listen, where is your girlfriend? Why are you looking at a little boy in your school? You don't let me tell you to the principal, you're supposed to be looking at a little girl. And the end of the picture was that they put the young children to prosecute the little girl. When the little girl get persecuted, so the little girl get beat up, all kind of thing, because they saw she and the little boy. The little boy and all get carried away. He said, no, I don't like her if she come on to me. Right? And you know at the end of that clipping they said, They said this is to show all the heterosexuals how we just feel when we are outlawed from who we like. So the tables, they really want to turn, and you know the agenda behind that. Satan wants to destroy the family, the society, destroy everything from the home, and he will corrupt the whole society.
Brethren, some people say that I say things too strongly. Some people say that I get too passionate. But I will tell you this. You better don't come after my granddaughters and my sons. Mormon leaders call for compromise on gays and lesbians.
Could you just say highlight that?
Mormon leaders call for compromise on gays and lesbians. Can anybody tell me the definition of compromise? Not just acceptance. Anybody? Anybody? Yeah.
Compromise is finding a middle ground.
Thank you.
According to the truth, that's we know compromise is giving up the truth.
Amen. That's what I was ready to look at. Giving up the truth to support a lie. Mormon church leaders are making a national appeal for a balanced approach, in quote and unquote, a balanced approach in the clash between gay rights and religious freedom. Only what I just said, they call it a clash between gay rights and religious freedoms. For heaven's sake, sodomy is not a right. Being gay is not a right. The church is promising to support some housing and job protections for gays and lesbians. Listen, the church is promising to support some housing and job protection for gays and lesbians in exchange for legal protections for believers who object to the behavior of others. Brethren, you hear what I just said? The church is exchanging. They're giving gays and lesbians, listen, they're giving Sodomites and lesbians housing and certain protection and jobs in exchange for legal representation for the old people who kick up against this thing. That is what these people telling me in this article.
Hypocrite.
Compromise. It's not clear how much ground the Mormons will find with this new campaign. The church insists it is making no changes in doctrine and still believe it's against the law of God to have sex outside marriage between a man and a woman. So they still believe that it is against the law to have sex outside of marriage between a man and a woman, but not between a man and a man. That we're telling me. But church leaders who held a rare news conference yesterday said, we must all learn to live with others who do not share the same beliefs or values. So I must lower my belief, give up my belief, and lower my standard and my values to accept you? Never. The language of the new campaign mirrors a website the church launched in 2012 instructing Latter-day Saints to be more accepting and compassionate towards gays. The church made clear then and now, listen to this, no, this is a gross contradiction. The church made clear then and now that it still opposes gay marriage and insists on its right to apply its own rules within church affiliated charities, schools, businesses, and properties. Excuse me. Even those that provide services to non-Mormons. Now it had a certain someone who used to tell me, sell my rights for peace sake. I believed in it until I came to Thusia Assembly Adventist. These people are saying here that even though they're compromising and they will accept legal representation from the state or from whoever to help the people who are against sodomy in exchange for housing and jobs to the Sodomites, they really expect that when these people, the government, whoever, get into their church business, they really feel they'll be able to have their own rules and regulations concerning certain things. Never. They give up their rights. And this is our website, eh? Yeah. I'm almost up. Right? The church announced the campaign in a rare news conference including 3 elders from a high-level Mormon governing body called the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. Church leaders condemned discriminations against gays in stark terms, speaking of centuries of persecution and even violence against homosexuals. Ultimately,
no, I have to say what nonsense. Who is the persecuted Sodomites?
I don't know.
Christians are the most persecuted people in the world.
On the
latest release from the United Nations shows that Christian persecution has risen more phenomenally all over the world. So what Sodomites then is we getting it? We are the ones facing discrimination, fight for us.
They don't look at it as discrimination when we are told to give up our rights, our freedom of thought, conscience, speech, movement, all of that. It is not discrimination when we are told that we have to give up those things in order for them to get rights. All are we born with rights and freedom, they just can't get it through the thick skull. Ultimately, most of society recognized that such treatment was simply wrong and that such basic human rights as securing a job or a place to live should not depend on a person's sexual orientation. That's why I'm not having no business and I'm not renting no place. So I already don't know how we're going to work out, you know. Neil Marriott, a member of the church's Public Affairs Committee, said in a prepared text ahead of the news conference, Mormon leaders still want to hire and fire workers based not only on religious beliefs but also on behavior standards known as honor codes that require gays and lesbians to remain celibate or marry someone of the opposite sex. The church also wants legal protections for religious objectors who work in government and health care, such as physicians who refuses to perform an abortion or provide artificial insemination for a lesbian couple. I really don't have more time, that's why I'm commenting it. Alright. Accommodating the rights of all people, including their religious rights, requires wisdom and judgment, compassion and fairness, said Jeffrey R. Holland, one of the apostles. Politically, it certainly requires dedication to the highest level of statesmanship. Nothing is achieved if either side resorts to bullying, political point scoring, or accusations of bigotry. Accommodations for religious objectors have factored into every state legislative debate over gay rights. But political pressure on rights groups to make concessions to religious conservatives is plummeting as support for same-sex marriage grows around the country. In some states, such as Arizona, business leaders now side with gay advocates, saying extensive religious exemptions hurt a state's image.